So if you're trying to figure things out in this, well, complicated world, maybe feeling that urge to get financially stable, build a life that feels truly good and just, understand how it all works, you're definitely in the right place. Today we're doing a deep dive. We've gathered a whole stack of sources, personal finance stuff, psychology insights, some classic success ideas to really unpack something important. Getting financially free, finding that happiness. It's not just about budgets, it's deeper. It's about how you think, your habits, the choices you make, intentionally.
That's exactly it. We've looked at everything from, behavioral psychology to summaries of books like Think and Grow Rich or Atomic Habits. We're kind of skipping the how to make a spreadsheet part today.
Yeah, we want to get into the why behind it all.
Right, and the how that goes beyond just numbers.
And honestly, some of the things we found might make you pause, like why trying to appear wealthy could actually keep you poor.
Or how these tiny little actions you do every day can compound into massive, almost unbelievable results down the line.
Yeah, and some surprising truths about who millionaires actually are. It's often not who you picture.
Okay, so let's dive in. Across all this material, one big idea just keeps popping up right from the start. It's foundational.
What's that?
Your mind. Your mindset is the absolute engine driving everything else. Getting that right isn't like step 5, it's step 1.
So before we even talk about tracking pennies, we need to check what's happening upstairs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The sources really hammer this point. The difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset.
Okay, break that down. Scarcity mindset.
That's the voice saying there's never enough. You operate from fear, hold on tight to what you have. Sometimes so tight you actually block opportunities. Like being afraid to spend money on a course that could boost your skills.
Oh, I know that feeling. Like at a potluck, you grab way too much of the first dish because you're worried it'll run out, even though there's tons of food.
Exactly that. It's this deep-seated fear of lack. Now, the abundance mindset, that's the flip side. They believe opportunities are everywhere. There's enough.
So you're more willing to invest, maybe share, see potential instead of just problems.
Precisely. One source put it really well. Instead of automatically thinking, I can't afford that, the abundance mindset asks, okay, how could I afford that?
That's a huge shift, not just words, but how you approach everything. It must mean facing some old beliefs, right?
Definitely. You have to dig up and challenge those limiting beliefs about money, about wealth, about what you deserve. A lot of them are subconscious, things you picked up as a kid without even realizing it.
So it's about reframing, focusing on gratitude, maybe, believing more is possible.
Yes, all of that. Gratitude comes up a lot. Focusing on abundance even when things feel tight.
Okay, mind is the foundation. Got it. But thoughts alone don't pay the bills, right? How do we connect this mindset shift to actual tangible progress?
That's where habits come crashing in. One source calls them the compound interest of self-improvement. Love that phrase.
Compound interest for your life, not just your money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Small, consistent actions, things you do every single day. They don't just add up, they multiply. It's incredibly powerful over time.
Like that stat, getting just 1% better each day means you're, 37 times better after a year. That sounds almost too good to be true.
It sounds wild, but mathematically, it checks out. It shows the power of consistency. And this ties directly into Napoleon Hill's work, especially in Outwitting the Devil. He looked at thousands of people and saw this clear split.
Between who?
Between drifters and non-drifters.
Drifters. Sounds like they're just floating along.
Pretty much. Hill claimed they were the huge majority, like 98% of the people he studied. Aimless, passive, easily knocked off course by fear or just putting things off, feeling like victims of circumstance.
And the non-drifters, the other 2%.
They're the opposite. Purposeful, confident, disciplined. They know what they want, and they take deliberate action to get there. They steer their own ship.
So is drifting the default mode for most of us then?
That seems to be the implication from these sources. And Hill has this concept, the law of hypnotic rhythm, to explain how it happens.
Hypnotic rhythm sounds a bit mystical.
It just means that your repeated thoughts and actions, whether they're good or bad, carve grooves. They become automatic patterns, habits.
So if you constantly think, I'm broke, or I'll do it tomorrow, that rhythm just pulls you deeper into that drifting state.
Exactly. Your patterns become your prison, or your path. He contrasts figures like Samuel Insull, who apparently let negative rhythms of indulgence take over and failed, with Henry Ford, who used positive rhythms focus, persistence to succeed massively. Same law, different application.
Wow. Okay, so our daily routines are literally shaping our destiny. That's a lot. You mentioned discipline for non-drifters. One source talks about inner discipline. How's that different from just willpower?
Good question. Inner discipline isn't about forcing yourself or punishing yourself. It's framed as self-respect, acting out of love for your future self.
Love for your future self. I like that.
It's sustainable because it's connected to your why, your purpose. Willpower, on the other hand, is like a muscle that gets tired. It relies on fighting yourself, and it often leads to burnout.
Okay. So willpower is gritting your teeth through something you hate because you should. Inner discipline is choosing the hard thing because it aligns with something deeper you want.
Perfectly put. It's driven by purpose, not just obligation. You build it by getting clear on your why, setting up systems to make the right actions easier, like prepping healthy meals, and, crucially, practicing self-compassion. It's not about being perfect tomorrow. It's about progress.
Right. Progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Okay. Mindset, habits, engine, wheels. Let's get to the nuts and bolts. What practical financial habits do these sources keep bringing up?
A big one is mindful spending. Just being present and aware when you're about to buy something. Really asking, is this a need or a want? Does this align with my goals?
So less about strict deprivation, more about conscious choices. Knowing where the money's actually going.
Exactly. And the first step for that, track your expenses. Every single one. Write it down. Use an app. Whatever works.
Even the small stuff, like that daily coffee.
Especially the small stuff. That $4 coffee 5 days a week. That's $20 a week. Easily. $80, maybe $100 a month. Over $1,000 a year. Gone. Tracking makes it impossible to ignore.
Ouch. Okay, message received. So track first. Then what?
Then you can set a budget that actually reflects reality and your priorities. Allocate money purposefully. And be really honest about needs versus wants. Essentials first, roof over your head, utilities, food.
Makes sense. Non-negotiables. Any other quick wins or tricks?
The 30-day rule comes up. See something non-essential you want. Just wait 30 days. Often that initial impulse fades and you realize you don't actually need it. Save a lot of money on impulse buys.
Yeah, I've tried that. It really does work sometimes. The urge just evaporates.
It does. Because marketing's designed to hit you now. Delay breaks that spell. Also, shop around. Compare prices online. Use comparison tools. Don't just grab the first thing you see, even for groceries.
What about cash? Does that help?
Using cash for things like entertainment or eating out can really help you stick to limits. Physically handing over bills feels different than tapping a card. Also, use cashback apps and coupons, but, and this is key only for things you were already planning to buy. Don't let a sale trick you into spending more.
Right. Don't buy a $50 gadget you don't need just to save $5.
Exactly. Review and cancel unused subscriptions. Those little $10 a month things bleed you dry. And watch out for bank fees and credit card interest. That's just throwing money away.
Okay. Mindful spending is about awareness and using simple tools. Now, let's flip it. What habits do the sources say are actively keeping people stuck financially?
Well, the obvious one is spending on unnecessary stuff, just buying things you don't need, often driven by consumer culture or slick marketing. One source bluntly suggests deleting shopping apps from your phone.
Delete. Amazon. Wow. Okay. That's creating friction, right? Making it harder to impulse buy.
Exactly. Remove the easy trigger. But maybe an even bigger one is trying to look rich. That whole keeping up with the Joneses thing. It's a financial death trap.
Especially with social media constantly showing curated, perfect lives.
Right. It fuels comparison. The advice is to audit your feed. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate or trigger spending. And here's a shocker from the sources. A lot of luxury goods sales. They're driven by middle and working class folks, often going into debt for it.
Wait, really? So the person flashing the designer watch might be stressing about their credit card bill.
That's what the data implies. Meanwhile, many genuinely wealthy people live much more modestly. This ties into avoiding lifestyle inflation.
The tendency to spend more just because you earn more.
Exactly. Your income goes up, so your spending automatically goes up to match it, often on luxuries. Instead, the advice is, direct that extra money towards savings, investments, or paying down debt faster. Maintain a budget discipline, even when your paycheck grows.
That requires serious intention, living below your means even when you don't have to. Okay, so we avoid the traps. How do we proactively build wealth?
Now we're getting into non-grifter territory. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich lays out some core principles. It starts, he says, with a burning desire. Not just a casual wish for more money, but an intense, focused passion for a specific financial goal.
Like really wanting it deep down.
Yes, and coupled with that, an unwavering belief that you can achieve it. Self-belief, faith. Using affirmations can help here. Then acquiring specialized knowledge. continuous learning relevant to your goals.
So you need the desire, the belief, and the know-how.
And finally, a clear plan. Not just vague hopes, but concrete steps. Smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, with actual strategies for saving and investing.
Desire, belief, knowledge, plan. Okay. What are the absolute must-dos for saving and investing that came up?
Number 1, build an emergency fund. Aim for at least 3, ideally 6 months of essential living expenses. This is your buffer against life surprises. It stops you from derailing your long-term plans.
The safety net. Got it.
Then, learn the basics of investing. Even small amounts, invested regularly over time, can grow dramatically thanks to compound interest. Starting early is a massive advantage. Time is your best friend here.
Yeah, compounding is like magic, but it needs time to work.
It really does. And the sources highlighted a pretty stark contrast in saving habits globally. Like, China's household saving rate is often cited as being around 32%, while the U.S. rate hovers closer to, 5 or 6%?
Wow, that's a huge difference. 32% versus 5%.
It really illustrates the potential impact of prioritizing saving consistently. Even small daily sacrifices can add up to significant wealth over the long haul if that becomes the norm.
It shows what's possible. What else for building wealth?
Create multiple income streams. Don't rely solely on your main job. Explore side hustles, freelancing, investing in things that generate passive income like rental properties or dividend stocks. Diversifying makes you more resilient.
Don't put all your financial eggs in one basket. Makes sense. No, the big one for many people. Debt. It feels like such a heavy weight.
It absolutely is. The sources acknowledge the stress, the shame, the impact on well-being. Yeah. But they really stress. Debt is a situation, it's not who you are.
That's important. It's something you're dealing with, not your identity.
Exactly. And every single dollar you throw at it makes a difference.
Yeah.
There was this powerful example. $5,000 credit card debt at 20% interest. Paying just the minimum, say $100 a month, it takes almost 8 years and costs you over $4,300 in interest alone.
8 years? What?
But if you could just bump that payment up to $135 a month, just $35 more, you pay it off in under 5 years and save over $1,600 in interest.
Just $35 extra saves $1,600 and 3 years of debt stress. That's incredible motivation right there.
It really shows the crushing cost of high-interest debt and the immense power of paying even a little bit more than the minimum. Tracking your debt payoff progress visually also helps keep you fired up.
Okay, so it's about plugging the leaks, directing the flow intentionally. This whole conversation shows how money isn't separate from life, is it? It touches everything. What other sort of bigger picture elements came up?
Time. Time is huge. It's framed as one of your absolute most valuable, non-renewable resources. Be incredibly intentional with how you use it. Wasting time is linked to that drifting state, to negativity.
Non-drifters make time count.
They do. Every second is seen as an investment. And interestingly, you can actually convert money to time.
How does that work?
By using money to outsource or automate tasks that drain your time or energy, especially low-value ones. Think paying for house cleaning, using grocery delivery, ride sharing instead of driving in traffic, leveraging software or AI tools. It frees you up for higher value work or simply more life.
Buying back your time. I like the sound of that.
It's a mindset shift. Another critical piece is your environment and relationships, the people you surround yourself with. The sources are unanimous. Choose positive, ambitious, supportive people. Your peer group shapes you profoundly.
That old saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
It echoes through all this material. Seek out friends, communities, mentors who align with your goals and lift you up. And that famous Harvard study on adult development. It keeps finding that strong, positive relationships are one of the biggest predictors of long-term happiness and health.
So investing in good relationships is literally investing in your well-being.
Absolutely. Cultivate them. Reach out. Be present. Express appreciation. It matters immensely. And alongside relationships, physical health.
Can't forget that.
Nope. Good nutrition, regular exercise, sufficient sleep. They're not luxuries. They're the foundation for energy, mental clarity, productivity, everything.
Yeah, running on empty doesn't work for long.
And finally, a constant theme. Investing in knowledge and self-development. Using your free time not just for passive entertainment, but actively learning. Reading, listening to informative content like this, taking courses. Your brain wants to learn.
Especially when you're younger, right? The sources mentioned that.
Yes, your capacity to absorb information is huge, particularly earlier in life. But lifelong learning is key. Rereading important books or materials helps things stick. Make learning a regular habit, like exercise.
Schedule it in. Make it non-negotiable.
And linked to that, especially for younger folks, is don't be afraid to experiment and fail. The stakes are often lower when you're starting out. Failure isn't the end, it's data. It's learning.
Okay, so pulling these threads together, it feels like the traditional idea of wealth, just having a massive bank balance, is kind of missing the point, according to these sources.
It definitely feels incomplete. True wealth, as described here, is much more about freedom. Freedom of time, freedom from debt and money stress, freedom to do work you love, pursue passions, help people you care about.
It's more about the quality of life that money enables.
Exactly. It's about emotional well-being, fulfillment, purpose, living a life that feels rich to you, defined on your own terms, not just chasing a number.
That feels way more achievable and, frankly, more desirable. You mentioned some surprising facts about actual millionaires earlier. Bust those myths for us.
Okay, yeah. So globally, there are about 59.4 million millionaires. That's like a lot, but it's less than 1% of the world population, maybe 1.2% of adults. They're not lurking on every corner.
So the Instagram feed is definitely not reality.
Not even close. And get this, around 88% are self-made. They didn't inherit it. Most are over 50. It takes time. And here's the kicker. They often live pretty modestly and stick to budgets.
Wait, self-made, older, and frugal, that shatters the flashy stereotype.
Completely. It shows wealth building is usually a long game of discipline, not sudden riches and Lamborghinis. And $1 million today, especially in a big city, it doesn't necessarily buy that extravagant lifestyle anymore anyway.
So this connects to the idea of a modest lifestyle having actual benefits.
Huge benefits. The sources list things like connecting with people for who you are, not what you have, avoiding unwanted attention or judgment, obviously saving a ton of money, feeling safer, reducing stress, reaching financial independence faster, even inspiring others.
Like Warren Buffett in his same house, or the IKEA founder flying coach.
Those are classic examples. It's about prioritizing inner satisfaction over external validation, focusing on what truly matters to you, not just appearances.
It's not about deprivation, but intentionality.
Exactly, which naturally leads to ideas like underconsumption or minimalism, owning less stuff, but stuff that genuinely adds value to your life. It saves money, sure, but it also frees up mental space and often aligns with environmental values too.
And the joy comes from experiences, relationships, growth, not just the next purchase.
That's the core idea. The thrill of buying something new fades fast. Memories from experiences, connections with people, those last.
So when you're cutting back, feeling that pinch, maybe reframe it. It's not failure. It's the feeling of building something better, lighter, more meaningful.
That's a powerful perspective from one of the sources, yes. And speaking of reframing and meaning, there was that interesting personal story about redefining where wealth or quality of life is found.
Oh, right. The person who compared living in Canada versus Vietnam. That was really specific.
It was. It laid out this detailed personal calculation. After nearly 10 years in Canada, they weighed factors like healthcare access and wait times, which were a major negative for them in Canada. Personal safety concerns in cities. The impact of long, cold winters on mental health.
Okay, so health, safety, climate.
Right. Then taxes citing combined rates over 30% plus sales tax. The high cost of living, especially food and eating out, compared to Vietnam's affordability and vibrant food scene. And finally, a perception of more dynamic economic growth and opportunity back in Vietnam.
So it wasn't just about salary. It was this whole package deal. Health, safety, cost, taxes, opportunity, even weather. And deciding that, for them, Vietnam offered a better overall quality of life, felt like where they were treated best.
Precisely. It wasn't presented as a universal judgment, but as one person's detailed rationale for prioritizing different factors beyond just income. It shows how subjective a rich life really is. You have to define it for yourself based on your values.
That's a powerful reminder to question the defaults. Okay, final piece. Happiness. Does it just show up when the bank account hits a certain number, or is it something we build alongside wealth?
Definitely something you build. The science on happiness is fascinating. Genetics play a role, maybe 50%. Circumstance like income or health, maybe 10%. But a huge chunk, around 40%, comes down to your intentional activities and choices.
40%, that's massive. That's almost half within our control. So what are the big levers for that 40%?
Gratitude is consistently at the top. Actively practicing gratitude literally rewires your brain to see the good. It boosts optimism. Keeping a journal, being specific about what you're thankful for, it works.
Simple but powerful. What else?
Mindfulness. Being present in the moment, not lost in past regrets or future worries. It cuts stress, increases self-awareness, helps you savor life. Simple things like mindful breathing, paying attention on a walk.
It's just being.
Yeah,
here. Now,
exactly. We already mentioned building positive relationships, huge impact. And pursuing meaningful goals. Goals that align with your values give you a sense of purpose and direction. Enjoy the process. Celebrate the small wins.
so it's not one thing, but weaving all these practices together. Okay, this is a lot to take in. How do people actually implement this? How do you stay on track when life inevitably gets crazy?
It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. No overnight fixes here. The key is structure and consistency. Setting smart goals is crucial. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Get rich isn't a goal.
Right. Save $200 a month for the next 12 months for a down payment. That's a goal.
Exactly. Then, create an action plan. Break the goal down into small, manageable steps. Use tools, journals, apps, vision boards. Set mini deadlines. Get an accountability partner if that helps.
Make it concrete and get support. Okay.
And super important, regular review and adjustment. Life changes. Check in with yourself, maybe monthly. What's working? What's not? Do I need to adjust my plan? And don't forget to celebrate the milestones, however small. They keep you motivated.
And what happens when you slip up? Because everyone does.
Self-compassion. Absolutely vital. Don't beat yourself up. Acknowledge it, learn from it, and just get back on track with the next right action. It's about progress over the long haul, not demanding perfection every single day.
Wow. Okay. This deep dive covered so much ground, from our deepest beliefs about money to like the nitty-gritty of saving $35 on a credit card payment. But it feels like there's a really consistent thread running through it all.
I think so too. If you boil it all down, the big message seems to be that building real wealth and a truly rich life. It's not just about earning more or pinching every penny. It's holistic. It's about cultivating that abundance mindset, building those intentional habits day after day, making choices that align with your values, and really defining for yourself what enough and rich actually mean.
And the real power, the almost magical part, seems to be in that compounding effect. Small actions done consistently, even when they feel insignificant or uncomfortable. They just stack up over time. Financially, yes, but also in who you become.
It's that choice, isn't it? To be a non-drifter. To choose purpose over passivity. That's what fuels the compound effect.
Which leads to this final thought that really jumped out at me. It connects that idea from Outwitting the Devil that nature hates a vacuum, your mind will be filled with something, either positive intention or negative drift, with that concept of inner discipline being tied to purpose. If you don't choose what fills that space, something else will.
Fear, procrastination, distraction.
Exactly. So here's the challenge, maybe just for you listening. Based on everything we've talked about, what's one tiny space, maybe just the next 10 minutes, maybe one decision today where you can consciously choose intention over drifting? Where you can fill that space with one small action, however simple, that moves you towards your definition of a rich life, trusting that even the smallest step starts the compound effect.
Just one small intentional action. What could that be for you right now that aligns with the life you're consciously building?
Think about your journey, your priorities, what truly matters to you. You have the insights now.
The path forward starts with that very next step. Choose it intentionally.